You do understand that reading the title of a book or an article or watching the first 15 seconds of a video is not going to give you a deep, nuanced understanding of what that book or article or video is about, right? That being said, how can you expect to understand or critique feminist sources if you don't even attempt to understand what they're trying to say?
And that's the same thing on your side. You have a lot of young feminists, impressionable girls who just listen and believe what they are being force-fed at college and their gender studies courses. You have these young men who don't want to step on anybody's toes or be mislabeled as a misogynist or a rapist. So they actually toe the line because they are trying to appease everybody around them and trying not to look like a bad person. You know, why are you out there shirtless after swimming in the pool and asking these questions? Should I take you seriously? At least I have a nice sweater on and a little cap. Like, I'm presenting myself to be a little bit more mature in this conversation while you have your fucking shirt off, wet as a fucking wet dog. Like, it's all about presentation. Like, this is a stupid question. I'm sorry.
Is trying and failing to debunk a study into sexual assault the number one priority for a rational thinker now? Does it maybe say something about your priorities? Nah, it's fine. It's the feminazis. We have to stop them. They're taking away our video games.
First off, your voice is really getting annoying. Do something about it. Second, you still haven't really brought up any important issues, okay? Violence, discrimination is not a one-way street. Men suffer this too at the hands of their female partners, or at the hands of mothers, or at the hands of caregivers. Women are now raping boys and molesting children as well. Should we criticize that? Yes, we should. It's not just, again, this victim-oppressor narrative where men are the oppressors and women are victims, and men are always imposing themselves onto girls or women. You are not innocent, okay? We are trying to give agency to women, which, again, was the whole point of feminism. The way I describe it is this, okay? Pay attention. The way I describe it is that men, throughout history, those of us who have done well, others have celebrated and uplifted that person for doing a good thing. But when a man does something bad against the law or abuses somebody else, we punish that person according to our high standards of law and due process. So when men do good, we celebrate it. When men do bad, we punish them. Now with women, especially in feminist movements, when women do good, we celebrate it to the nine. Like, it's such a big thing that we celebrate it when a woman accomplishes something, especially when she does better than a man, right? But when it comes to the punishment of women for doing negative things or harmful things in their life, such as molesting children or raping men or stealing men's money and just bleeding them dry, you know, these kind of behaviors, society will turn a blind eye to that, or they will bend over backwards in order to make any form of excuse to either totally disregard that bad behavior or to limit the sense of punishment that we give out to the same as men. So basically, when women do good, we really celebrate it, but when women do bad, we minimize it and we don't hold them accountable for their own actions. This is what's pissing off a lot of men, okay? Men who are becoming aware of this. And it's pissing off a lot of women who don't want to be condescended to or treated like children. They want their own agency. And we're here to give them that agency. But the moment when the shit hits the fan, you feminists and SJWs will make every goddamn excuse. And it's getting so frustrating and so hard because you create double standards, you create contradictions to your whole movement. You say one thing and then do another, all right? You force these high standards onto boys and men, but not these high standards to girls and women. It's literally creating this vacuum where, again, with the victim-oppressor narrative, where women are always seen as victims of men and the system, and men are always benefiting. And that is not the case, okay? Get it through your skulls. That is not the way reality works.
One of the major arguments that I see in many of your videos is that it is possible to separate criticism of the religion of Islam from the actual Muslim people. And yet, this line seems to be crossed very often. I see things like raghead or camel fucker or other things like that in your comment sections. I see people taking very serious shots at Muslims in videos and hangouts, and they don't get called out. At least not that I can see. So my question is this: why should a person of conscience who is concerned about the Muslim people and their community not being harmed or mistreated, why should they believe that you're actually only attempting to look at the ideas and talk about the ideas if you ignore bigotry that's occurring right in front of you? And in that light, would you be willing to break bread and salt with moderate Muslim people on your videos, have hangouts, invite them to your channels, just in order to build some bridges there and to learn more about what they think and how they feel and what their experience has been, so that information and knowledge can be furthered?
First off, really good question. Second, a little bit long. Okay, what people need to understand is that the aversion towards people who follow Islam is the fact that there are two separate kind of guilds for this, okay? So we have Muslims who are in the Western society. We can call them the moderate Muslims. Then we have the Muslims over in their home countries in the Middle East. Now, the thing about this is that moderate Muslims may disagree with homosexuality, may see women as second class and, follow their religious traditions and all such. The Western society allows this, okay, because we have freedom of religion and freedom from religion. Because we have freedom from religion, I don't have to be forced to accommodate Muslims. I don't have to be forced to accept Islam, okay? I like that. Over in the Muslim countries in the Middle East part of the world is that there's not a lot of acceptance for other people of other beliefs or other lifestyles. Such example is that we have about 10 countries, I believe, who are strictly led by the Islam and Muslim culture, who throws gays off of buildings. They will dig a hole and put adulterating women in there and stone them to death. There was an article where I read where they burned a woman alive because she happened to not be a follower of Islam and actually was more of a pagan witch. They burned her alive, okay? So the main difference between moderate Muslims in the West and Muslims over in the Middle East is the fact that in Western culture, our culture is not led by Islamic beliefs, whereas over there, their culture is led by or heavily influenced by Islamic belief. So in the West, Muslims have the right to practice their religion, but it is not our culture, okay? Our culture is more egalitarian, even more feministic, I'll give you that, where it's all about people's individual rights to freedom, to pursuit of happiness, and to life. We don't have to follow Islam, okay? We don't. We don't have to follow any religion if we so choose to. But in Muslim countries over in the Middle East, they kill people for having opposite beliefs, okay? A lot of Islam was built on the idea of conquest. This is why you had a lot of Christianity and Islamic people conflicting over the years, because the two religious beliefs were not compatible. We are simply not compatible with Islamic ideology. And I do not want to bring over Islamic culture and ideology from the Middle East, import it into our home, and them corrupting our culture. I mean, I work with a few Muslims, and they're some of the nicest people I know. However, I still choose to be against Islam. That is my right. That is my opinion. And I value egalitarian core values that the West has shown and fought for. And I find that Islamic refugees or immigrants that are coming in are corrupting those values. They are going to damage our culture, which accepts all people, while their culture doesn't accept other people. And it's been proven fact. And there's a lot of Muslims over here who just don't have the capability to practice their religion alongside with our culture. So I'm sorry if you don't like that answer. Like, go fuck yourself.
Do you deny that systemic racism against black people is like a thing in general? If so, what? Okay, just step up. Just cover your ears for a second and let the smart people talk.
First off, now you're shaming others in this conversation. This is what you SJWs and feminists do. You think that you're 100% smart and you're 100% right, and then you shut us down by shaming us, or now basically by doing this, by framing the situation this way, you have now created the dialogue that if we are to respond to you, no matter what, it's going to be seen as wrongthink. It's going to be seen as evil. You literally shut us down with just saying this one phrase. Like, yeah, thanks a lot for insulting us, and thanks for shutting us out. And you wonder why people get mad at you.
If not, why is it so much more important to you to demonize groups like Black Lives Matter than to actually use your platforms to discuss actual solutions to issues surrounding race and racism?
First off, we have systematic racism, which a lot of black people fall onto as a means to excuse their bad behaviors. Baltimore, Chicago riots, all this stuff. Their bad behaviors, they can get away with or justify it because of systematic racism. While the other type of racism is more individual based. So let's say, for instance, if I call you, sir, a fucking nigger and I hope you kill yourself, this can be seen as a racist comment between the two of us. Does this express systematic racism? Am I the oppressor now because of past history? Like, first off, I'm Canadian, so I'm not even involved in the American slavery issue and systematic racism. But me being a white man, I would fall under that category of having a system, the Western system, benefit me over somebody like you. But systematic racism, like, what Black Lives Matter groups are not aware of is the fact that a lot of black people, almost everyone, born in America, shares the same rights as white Americans. As anybody who was born on that soil, you share the same legal rights. Now, since you have these opportunities and these legal rights, what do you do with it? Do you personally help other black people in your community? Do you talk about, do you use your platform to talk about minimizing the crime rate between black people and the black community? Do you help white people who are homeless? Do you help white people who have been affected by black crime as well? Like, what are you doing with your platform? Okay. Personally, I don't agree with Black Lives Matter because as I've seen the social media and news outlets showcasing them as whiny piss babies who are having tantrums out in the streets, they are destroying properties, they are blowing up cars, they are attacking people based on their skin color. And when I see these groups of people attacking others, it's very racist. It is a very racist thing. But you are trying to say that you can get away with it because of systematic oppression. Don't use that as an excuse for your bad behaviors. Now, obviously, Black Lives Matter group do not represent all black people. We all know this. Hell, I've had relationships with black people and Asian people and Middle Eastern people and all that stuff. Like, that doesn't make me a racist, okay? I'm willing to listen to black people when they are being reasonable adults. If you were trashing the place and throwing a tantrum like a goddamn child, I'm not going to give you any respect. And so far, that's what Black Lives Matter have done. They keep falling on the racist card in order to get away with their bad behaviors and attacking people. Why don't you call out these people? Because they're not a peaceful protest. They are not peaceful. They are disruptive and they're prone to violence. And I should not be blamed or labeled a racist for this criticism towards the Black Lives Matter group simply because I'm white. And if you get offended at that, that to me says that you are making this a bigger race issue when I'm trying to tackle these individual people's actions. Okay? And we find a lot of black people who are uneducated, who are part of this violent community, let's say, when they make a situation into a race situation, they're actually increasing racism, if that makes sense. Okay? If a person of any race, white, black, Hispanic, whatever, is starting to criticize a particular black person's actions in smashing windows and looting a business, That's not a race issue. That's based on that person's behavior, right? I do the same if it was an Hispanic person. I would certainly do the same if it was a white person, because I know that the act of looting and damaging property is wrong. So we are criticizing that, but let's say you come in and then you say, well, you're criticizing it because you're white and you're criticizing him because he's black. That's institutional racism. Do you see what that does? You just made a situation based on somebody's actions to a racist situation. And that is what's frustrating, because we are trying to look past a person's color and actually look at the actions of them. But you keep forgetting that. You keep falling back on the race thing, and it's very frustrating. How can we solve a problem when you are adding more to the problem when it had nothing to do with it?
If you've ever discussed or done a video about black on black crime, when are you going to do a video about white on white crime and what we as white people can do to solve the problems in our community?
Very good question. Where's your video about white on white crime? Mind you, I haven't checked your channel yet, so I'd be willing to do and see if you actually come up with one. There is white on white crime. There's also black on black crime. Okay? It's just that groups such as Black Lives Matter are totally ignorant of black on black crime within their own community. Now, in the United States, there's a much smaller population of black people versus white people, okay? And that's based on history. European settlers who were predominantly white came over and settled in the new land. And yes, there was the African slave trade, which, by the way, Africans started. They sold their own people and sold it to European settlers and brought them over to America. So there's a smaller population of black people in America, but if they have a high percentage rate of crime, that is a problem. It's something that might be particular to that group. So we need to analyze it. We need to criticize it. Same thing with the white on white crime. We're not denying this, okay? We want to talk about it, but a lot of the times you guys shut us down thinking that we're attacking you based off superficial and subjective things, such as the color of your skin. So again, you SJWs and feminists keep adding to the problem when we are trying to just clear all the shit, clear all the mud, so that we can go straight onto the actual problem, which in this case might be black on black crime or might be white on white crime. So why don't you stop making it a race issue and let's narrow our viewpoint to this problem. But you just don't do that.
Why is a literal teenager's different definition of racism from you so horrifying that you all have to go, no! No, we have to stop him! We've got to debunk him now!
First off, Milo Stewart is a racist, has blatantly, openly said that all white people are racist and all straight people are homophobic and anybody against trans people are transphobic. That is ridiculous. And we are going to call them out on that, okay? And any hate that happens to them is based off Milo's fucking words, okay? Like, you play this victim mentality whenever you criticize or say something that is blatantly false. Also, we attack their version of what racism is. This isn't a perfect example of how SJWs and feminists are redefining words that everybody knows it to be true, but you're redefining it so that you can get out of being called racist yourself for racist tendencies. So, for instance, according to Miley Stewart, only white people can be racist. They just changed the definition of racism, which is a hatred towards people of a different race or feeling that your race is superior and theirs is inferior, which includes everybody of every race. So by redefining that definition that most people understand, she is getting out of the blame for being racist. And this is what the problem is. So stop redefining words and using the words as what they mean, and we'll have less problems.
Wherever did you get the idea that racism was a self-applied identity? And if the only true racists are the racists who self-identify as racists, how can we ever expect to make any social progress to reduce racism? Or did I just answer my own question?
I don't want to answer you, Steve Shives. You're a fucking idiot. But I will say this, like based on Morgan Freeman, if you want to stop racism, stop making everything about race. Okay? Stop making it about, well, I got this way because I'm a black man, or you get this benefit because you're a white man. Again, as I stated before, when you create a situation around your race, we're gonna have issues with racism. Okay? Stop talking about it, or at least include it in a very mature manner that doesn't express your insecurities projecting onto people, and we'll get along just fine.
You often say that you are for equality of opportunity, but if people of color, for instance, have to overcome barriers whites do not, such as discrimination and unequal treatment as are well documented in various studies, then how can the current situation be thought of as equal opportunity in any real way? And why do you consider it racist to discuss these issues?
I'm actually really liking you. You ask very serious and good questions. In order to answer this, like we all know that individual people have different amounts of hurdles. Some will have more, some will have less. It seems like in America, because the population of the black community is so small, that they will suffer a lot more from discrimination or less opportunities. But the problem is that technically black people don't have different opportunities. They have the same opportunities, just different hurdles. I mean, you're assuming here that all white people benefit more because of the system, but we have a high homeless rate with white people. There's high poverty rate with white people. So we have examples as well where successful people, Hollywood celebrities, CEOs of companies, are different types of people. We have Oprah, we have Will Smith, we have, Rosa Parks as part of history. These are black people who are making it. We have Shakira, Ricky Martin, Hispanic people who are making it in Hollywood. We have a black president, for God's sakes. We have a black president. And that to me says that they weren't discriminated against. They weren't stopped at every angle. Oh my God, you're black. Let's just put up these barriers and hurdles to make it harder for you. That's ridiculous. Basically, they got there because of hard work, because of their merit, and because they pushed through all the bullshit that you guys keep throwing at us. So we have examples of successful minority people, successful gays, successful trans, successful blacks, anybody, right? So that means that we have a formula for success. It's there. We have these standards for success and happiness for a reason. Why do you think as a solution that we should lower the bar to let others who maybe can't even do it, maybe they're too lazy, maybe they just can't do the job at hand, why are we lowering the bar in order for them to get up? I'm sorry. I had to work for my college degree, all right? My parents didn't help me, all right? And I couldn't get student loans because my father made just the right amount of money over top of the limit, which disqualified me from getting student loans. So what did I do? Every summer, I worked at Burger King, double shifts, and I saved up my money. Every new college year came, I paid off my tuition, paid it all off. As an artist, I had art awards, which helped with that. And I continued working through my years of being a college student. I worked at it. It wasn't because of my skin color. I worked at it because I knew that I wanted to pay off my college so that I wasn't in debt for the rest of my life. And guess what? I had no debt when I graduated. And you know why? Because my parents, who are still together, who raised their son to follow his dreams and to support him as much as they could, as any parent should, my parents taught me how to be independent and have realistic goals. All right? And my goal was to get that degree with as little debt as possible, and I accomplished that. All right? I had hurdles. I did have hurdles, and I also had opportunities that may differ from somebody else. It differs from white people as well. I had white friends who are still in debt and they're in their 30s. I had friends who got a free ride because they were a basketball player or somewhere in the sports. We all have these different hurdles and opportunities. But for you SJWs and feminists to just lay claim that all white people benefit and they have more opportunities and all black people are discriminated against, you literally pigeonhole entire races, entire groups into these wedges. You discredit black people who are very smart and intelligent and have decent opportunities to pursue a life of happiness and success, and you stigmatize a whole bunch of white people who are actually suffering from being middle class to the impoverished. They're not making it. The vast majority of white people are not making it, but you still think that we are somehow more privileged. So, I hope that answers your question.